this episode of Horror Face Off, the film that started the blockbuster by raking in millions and millions of dollars and becoming one of the biggest films of all time, versus a film that stumbled in the box office but grew legs as time went on. And more legs. And more legs. A few more. Jaws versus The Thing.
Welcome to another episode of Horror Face Off. Today we have 1975's Jaws versus 1982's The Thing. Two classic horror films. One was a major box office hit, one was a box office bomb, but since then has gained a lot of love. In many cases, it's the favorite horror film of a lot of people. So it should be an interesting battle. The Thing is returning to the show. It was on the show and it trashed Halloween in a previous Horror Face Off. So we'll see what it can do against the powerhouse that is Jaws. And I know some people don't consider Jaws a horror film, but you know, what do you consider it, right? A thriller, whatever. Anyways, we're all good. So we have a cool panel, a bigger panel again. We're going to start off introductions. Brian, go.
Hey, Brian Rodriguez. I'm from LA. I run a Universal Monsters Instagram account, and I just love everything horror.
Awesome. Allie.
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm a preschool teacher by day, and I love horror by night. I love horror all day, really.
Awesome. And we've got Jack. Jack, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Jack. I'm originally from Montreal, but I've relocated on Vancouver Island. And I run my little company, Fog Point Films. I'm available on Instagram. I'm focusing more on screenwriting, hopefully to be able to produce my my screenplays or collaborate with other artists that are willing to, produce stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Another Canadian. All right, cool. And I saved her for last because I think I've been trying to connect with you for this show for a long time, maybe even other shows. But I think when I did the Women Who Effing Love Horror, it just never worked out. But finally, Tanya is on a horror / stage. Tanya, how's it going?
Good. I'm Tanya Heimball. I'm from the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania. I am a fraud specialist, so my job is constant. That's why I've never been able to make a show before, but I'm really excited. I love horror, obviously, but all movies in general. And I'm Miss Tanya88 on Instagram.
Yeah, and she's got a pretty massive following, which is awesome. So we've got the introductions out of the way. Let's get down to the main reason why we're here. Jaws versus The Thing. And we're going to start off with the plot. And we're going to go to the crafty veteran of the show, Brian.
All right. So two amazing stories here. The Thing, alien coming down, attacking these men at this station in Antarctica. Jaws, these guys go out to fight a man-eating shark out in the ocean. There's a lot of similarities with like guys hunt, like a group of guys just kind of going and trying to be smart about taking out a monster. But I think Jaws is a better story / plot because I think it gives us a better main character to attach to. I really like the Brody's arc with his fear of water and how the movie's really not about going to kill a shark. It's more about how this man deals with his fear of water from the beginning to the end of the movie.
All right. Giving us some depth right off the hop. All right, Allie, you're up.
Well, they are both about battling a big beast. And is the question which plot we like more? To be clear, is that what you're asking?
Like which one do you think is better?
There are a lot of similarities, which I didn't think about till I rewatched The Thing. I was thinking about Jaws in mind. Isolation. They both have isolation. They're both stressful, different reasons, but it's about a bunch of dudes trying to survive and kill.
Big
the
alert.
beast.
Sorry.
I like the story in Jaws. I think the plot in Jaws is just different. I don't know. Maybe I've just seen a lot of The Thing is one of the best alien movies there is, in my opinion. But Jaws is such a unique story about a trio of dudes who, for different reasons, need to get rid of this beast. One is in school for it, one wants the money, and one is the cop who's supposed to protect everybody. And I think I like that one better.
Tanya.
This is really hard for me. I have notes, but I'm going to go with Jaws for this one. I like that it's simple in the way that if somebody asked me, what is the thing about and what is Jaws about, I would say, oh, the thing is about this. And I'd go on this big, long explanation about what it is. And someone said, what's Jaws? I would say, oh, it's a story about a shark that's attacking a beach and they're trying to take care of that issue. But when you look into it deeper, it is more about like Brody's Fear of the Water. It's about Quint and Hooper and all these different guys, and then the stress on them from not just the shark, but then the townspeople and his family. And it is a lot deeper than just the shark is the problem. So while I do like the story of The Thing, I'm going to have to go with Jaws for a story plot on this one.
All right, Jack, you going to go against the grain here? Are you going to give it to Jaws as well?
Well, I mean, in terms of plot, I think that as an onion with different layers, Jaws is more interesting because you've got the professional, you've got the social classes, you've got political involvement with, the mayor and all these things. And like the whole, we need summer dollars and things like that. And so there's a lot of different issues that tackle. It's not just like a shark just pops out of nowhere and it's a threat. Yes, it is, but there's definitely more to that. Whereas The Thing, you've got these kind of, they're in Antarctica and outposts. The characters are kind of like anti-hero. They've been there for a while. Like they say, they're tired, they're stressed, but you don't have that same feel. So I have a feeling that no, plot wise, I think Jaws is more interesting than The Thing.
Wow, so it's right across the board. My answer is The Thing. And but listening to some of the arguments, I'm almost not influenced, but persuaded by some of the, just like I said, in-depth analysis. But my reasoning for, I'm going to look at the plot from 30,000 feet, and shark versus alien, they are similar. I like the absolute isolation of The Thing and what can you do. The reason why in Jaws there is isolation once they're out on the boat, but there was always a sense that they could floor it back to the island at some point. With Antarctica, there was never that option, and they were trapped there, and you were wondering how the heck they could do it. And in the end, I'm not going to get too involved in the end, they didn't do it. And I kind of like that because it showed the limits kind of man, and and when we're not armed with all our weapons and gadgets, how vulnerable they can be. And I love the whole who did it, kind of who's not, like that whole who done it feel. Almost, you put it in almost any movie and it wins me over. So I'm gonna stick with The Thing, but it was close. It was very, very tough. So all right, so we go to the setting, and there's no parallels between these settings. We're going to start off with Jack.
Well, it's interesting that you were talking about plot and settings because they're polar opposite. One is like 4th of July weekend, summer heat. You've got that tension, right? And the other one is this Antarctica cold. And in terms of settings, I think that even though personally I have been to Martha's Vineyard and I've seen it firsthand how it is, and it's just like it's a beautiful place, it's still a community. It still feels like there's still people, you still have resources like you just mentioned. Whereas in Antarctica, you have poor windows and that trying to communicate with people, and he's just having tantrums saying we're thousands of miles away from nothing. So in terms of setting, I think that yes, the thing is a little bit more, you know, it adds to the coldness and the I think the setting of the thing was pretty good. I think it's a little bit better than Jaws.
Great. All right. And just a reminder, you can swear on this show. So I don't know if it looked like you were holding back an F-bomb there for a second. You don't have to hold back. I just say. All right. So we're going to go to Tanya.
Okay, I'm looking at this question from like my point of view if I was in the situation. If I was in the thing, if I was in Antarctica on this research project, I'm already scared. Just me, like the dark, the cold, the isolation, I'm already terrified. So if an alien thing comes along, that's just going to add to that terror. So it's like terrifying from the start. So I'm going to give this one to Jaws because I think it's a really nice, really safe setting where we've all been to the beach. We've all been like out 4th of July, enjoying ourselves, and the thought of something like really horrifying happening in that setting scares me more than something scary happening in the dark in Antarctica. So stuff like that always gets to me. Movies that are filmed in the day, like Midsummer, it's like it's sunny, it's bright, and then something bad happens. That's more terrifying to me because I feel safe and then something bad happens than otherwise. So I'm going to give this one to Jaws.
All right.
Nice.
I thought you were heading the thing way there, and then you just right back to Jaws.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, what do you got? Break the tie.
So I was like, the ocean is definitely, to me, a scary place in general. And I think as soon as their boat starts to go, it's like, that's it. Like they're done. And you don't know what's underneath there. The shark is probably one of your 50 million problems down there. And I think it's also a great hiding place for the shark. Like you don't see where it's coming from. And then it just like pops out. There's a few scenes like that. But you actually changed my mind on this one because although I was giving a lot of points to the ocean, you mentioned that they could just, you know, they have the boat. If they wanted to, they could just turn back. In the thing, they're isolated 100%. They've lost their communications. They're not even before they lose the helicopter, but the storm is not even letting them go up sometimes. So yeah, I have to get to the thing now. And it completely changed my mind. I had the ocean down.
It happens. It happens. All right, Allie.
I'm giving it to the thing for this one. There is, to me, and me personally, there is nothing scarier than the ocean. I don't go in the water. If you guys Google New Smyrna Beach, that's about 20 minutes from where I live. It's the shark capital of the world. So I would think, you know, I would have thought I would have picked Jaws, but no, I'm picking the thing because simply that isolation factor. You can go, Brody could have gone home if he wanted to. He could have gone back to New York if he wanted to. But the thing is, they were there no matter what, probably till spring or summer. They were already stuck there. They were bored, and then something happened, and they were absolutely isolated, and it's dark and it's cold. So I'm going to have to give my answer to the thing for this one, as much as I hate the ocean, but I can avoid going in the ocean.
All right. So basically, this one's tough because I'm viewing it just from a film's setting standpoint, and how amazing is Jaws? Like, you know, just the whole town, the whole, yeah, it's so, you feel it, like you're in there, and it's just like they use the locals, which, you know, obviously helps, but like I can't get enough of, like, you know, that feeling, right? When you put on that movie, it's just like bigger than the shark, right? And then the ocean is the isolation part. And again, I definitely, like it would freak me out to be out there. And but I'm gonna give this to The Thing just because a lot of times I love winter horror films most times, if as long as they're decent, just because they're different. They're not, there's not that many of them, and when there are, they're usually pretty good. But I just love the feel of Antarctica. Actually, Antarctica is a dream trip of mine, so I kind of want to go there. But I just, whenever I put on The Thing, I'm usually watching it in the dead of winter in Canada, so it's like it resonates with me, and I'm gonna give it to the narrowest of margins. You know what might have changed my mind is every time I watch Jaws, and we've all heard the stories and we all can see it, how like overcast and cold it is. If it was hot, maybe if it was like beaming sunny and you felt the heat and you knew it was a hot environment, that might have been just enough to kind of tip it for me. But every time I watch that movie now, I just look at everybody shivering and freezing on the beach, and it kind of makes me laugh. But all right, so we're 2 in, everybody's got their feet wet. Now we're getting right down to it. So we're gonna go with filmmaking, and let me explain filmmaking, the category. Obviously this is the directors category, but this is where you would encompass cinematography, music, everything. You throw this all into one category. I know that's a lot, but that's what it is. So for this one, we're going to start with Jack.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
I hate this.
filmmaking. Okay, so this is tough because I mean, this was Steve Spielberg's like second movie, right? After he did Duel before this one,
And
so it's kind
Sugarland
of newbie.
Express, but yeah.
But I mean, he didn't have in mind to make a blockbuster, and Jaws became a blockbuster. But there's so many issues that happen with Jaws. I mean, the shark worked perfectly in water, and then when they put it in salt water, the shark just went, he just went full dolphin, So you have to constantly think outside the box of how am I gonna, because you got to keep moving. You can't just stop and wait. You have to, or else they'd probably still be making the movie. And so all those issues that happened, it was like, it must have been hell. Even Spielberg said when he thinks of Jaws, he thinks it's a blessing and it's a curse. But it set kind of a standard to his style of filmmaking. And I mean, music, you listen to the song and you recognize it right away, and they've used it in so many other types of movies. Secret of My Success and Swingers, you have that hint, you hear the do 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 do, and you know right away it's Jaws. If you look at The Thing, Carpenter is more used to smaller budgets. So independent kind of feel. Like you look at Halloween, which is such a small film, but it's just executed beautifully because he is a master of horror. I mean, he's just fantastic. And I know that he liked Howard Hawks's The Thing from out of space, out of world. So it was kind of like, and I mean, The Thing is mecha horror. I mean, the makeup and everything. But he tried to give it a small independent feel, even though he did have a lot of studio money. And I mean, the special effects by Rob Bottin is, it's absolutely fantastic. But I think Jaws takes the cake just because there were more issues and it forced everyone to kind of like think outside the box. And even though Ennio Morricone was a fantastic composer, you hear do 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 do, and you're like, it's kind of bland, the music. It could have been a little bit better, but it also feels good because of Antarctica. It's very minimalistic and cold, but you recognize Jaws music over The Thing music. So I think that in terms of filmmaking, I think Jaws was a bigger challenge, but it paid off way more.
Well done. Allie.
Those were fantastic answers, by the way. This is the question I knew you were going to ask that I had to think about the most this morning. And I have to decide how to answer right now because my answer, I have two different reasons. I like Jack said, I can't believe that movie was made because of how many things went wrong. And that makes me love and appreciate Jaws all the more. The shark is not working. But the thing, and by the way, can I ask a question? Does your question of filmmaking involve special effects, or is that a different category? Or
Yeah,
we talking about that now?
it does involve special effects. And the reason, I'll tell you why, because with horror face off, there's a lot of times where there's no special effects really in a horror film. Like you might have something like Rosemary's Baby versus The Thing, right? Well, guess who's going to win the effects, right? So I couldn't do that with effects, although I wanted to, and that's one I want to try and get in there. I couldn't. So you're going to have to throw that into the filmmaking.
Well, yeah, because the effects in The Thing are just, to this day, they hold up. It's the most disgustingly beautiful, monstrous piece of art I think I've seen. And you've asked me before, I love John Carpenter, but because of, I think, how much work and change too, how much they had to change. I wonder what Jaws would have been like in its original state had it not had to change because of so many problems during the filmmaking. Therefore, I think I'm going to have to give it to Jaws.
Ryan.
So Carpenter and Spielberg both have like their unique styles. So I think this was a really tough category. But with Spielberg, I feel like everything feels a little bit more deliberate. Everything seems more focused and tight with his filmmaking. John Carpenter does have that low budget kind of approach to things. So I don't know. I feel like Spielberg really is used to making big epic movies. I know at the time he probably wasn't, but I think he had that mindset going into it. And also it was it's the problems that he faced on the film. I don't think The Thing was a walk in the park in that setting they had to go film in, but with Spielberg, it was like the studio was going to cut the films. Like they were going to tell him to wrap it up and like finished or unfinished. These things weren't working. The shark wasn't working. And I think there was a great synergy between Spielberg and John Williams with the score that really saves that movie. And Spielberg basically shows us, makes like a horror movie. I think it's a horror movie, without even showing us that much of the monster. So I think his direction and how he handles actors on that boat is fantastic. So Spielberg to me is is the greatest director of all time. So I had to go with Spielberg.
Great. So Tanya, are you gonna rock the boat here, so to speak?
Well,
Pun intended.
after listening to all that, like I have something wrote down, but I'm starting to lean the other way now. But I'm gonna stick with what I have wrote down, and I'm gonna go with John Carpenter and The Thing. And I think that I wrote this down because the direction in the movie plays so much into like the story. So there's little things that John does that, for example, when like the husky comes into the room in the beginning and the shadow on the wall is like a silhouette of a person, it's like that moment is kind of foreshadowing to something happening later on. So they use like little things like that, not directly showing the shark or showing this or that, but it's how they direct it that kind of, it's part of the story almost. It's like a character in itself. And again, if we're adding practical effects or effects into this category, obviously The Thing is just, again, out of this world. And looking back on it even now, I'm like, how did they do that? Like back in then, like this is just amazing. Even today, we all love practical effects, obviously. So I'm gonna stick with The Thing and John Carpenter on this one.
Nice. Sticking to your guns. I like that. I know sometimes you hear all these arguments and you're like, crap, I gotta go with the opposite, but it's what you feel. This one is tough because I think this is John Carpenter's best film. In a lot of his other films, I feel you really spot weaknesses as much as he's a good director. In this one, it's near perfect. From the beginning of the film right to the very end, there's very little you can critique in this film. And I put this film as against any genre of film as far as just being almost perfect. And the music, yes, minimalist, but it works. It's got that early 80s feel. And yeah, Rob Bottin's effects are celebrated tremendously, but almost not even enough, like, you know, based on the hell he went through. And it was a tough shoot. Where you look at Jaws, and yeah, I mean, you could go get, you guys illustrated the problems that, you
Oh
know,
yeah, there was Quint was who played Robert Shaw was an alcoholic. I mean, it was
yeah,
more than and yeah, not that the Thing didn't. Somebody can correct me. Sorry if I'm jumping in, Jason.
no, go
I
for it. I
think
like it.
they almost had like a horrible accident on set in Antarctica, or when they were filming for The Thing. John Carpenter. It was in an interview I saw a long time ago, but they definitely struggled.
It
But
was a bus, right? Bus
I
almost
think so. There was
went
like a
over.
car accident. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm never going to Antarctica, man.
yeah,
But I would try Martha's Vineyard. That sounds cool.
yeah. I do both,
It's
but
beautiful.
yeah, I can imagine. And I hear it's like all almost exactly the way it was in 75, which is awesome too.
That's cool, man.
Well, I went there, I was like 20 years ago or so. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I walk around town and I'm like, I've been here before.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, we've never been here. This is our first time. I said, no, I've been here before. And know this. And so this is where they filmed Jaws. And everyone started laughing because
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Jaws.
That's really
I
sweet.
mean, but
Yeah.
it was really, it's really beautiful place. I recommend it.
Cool.
It's on the bucket list for sure. I'll probably get to that one before Antarctica, but
I would swim in that pond, and then when I learned like 2 days later where they filmed Jaws, I stopped swimming.
Michael's in the pond. Oh man,
that's awesome.
that's cool.
pretty
That's
cool.
really
Okay, so yeah, basically back to what I was saying about Jaws. It's brilliant. I mean, I think it's I don't, as far as like whether you like it or not, I think it's probably one of the best films that's ever been made. And from beginning to end, the feel, everything, the atmosphere, the characters, all that kind of stuff, that the music, like you were saying, well, like everybody would say. So I'm going to give it to Jaws. All right, so we move on to characters. And for this one, we're going to start with Tanya.
Okay. There are a lot of great characters in The Thing. You know, they've all got like their cute little names and their little quirks, and like they do a good job at introducing them all at the beginning and kind of like who they are in that movie. But I'm going with Jaws on this one because I really love the three main characters. I read the book. I don't know how many of you guys read the book as opposed to the movie. It's a lot different, obviously, but it's still like I still, maybe that added to it for me, that I just love those characters so much. And I think that they had to put a lot more, there's more backstory, their families, their different things, you know, with those characters. And you feel like you know those characters more than you know the characters in The Thing. And yeah, I'm going with Jaws on this one.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that The Thing has some great characters that you know pretty well, but you pretty much get Kurt Russell, Keith David, you know, Childs and McCready are the standouts for me, at least. But I think it does suffer from having a little bit too many characters, where I feel the three characters in Jaws are super well fleshed out, different motivations. I think the way their different motivations and how opposite they are plays better with the drama. And they feel like our friends, like they do feel like people we know. And like I said earlier with the plot thing, it was like, I think Brody becomes like a perfect avatar for like an audience member watching the movie. Like I don't think McCready's as strong of a character. So I have to go with Jaws.
All right. We're going to go with Allie.
I always hate these questions, but this is a question I freaking love.
Oh.
I love the characters in this. I love the thing with child. Everybody loves McGrady, my long lost dad. I love him. He goes from bored to stressed through the whole movie. And there's nothing like McGrady makes that movie. If he wasn't in it, I don't know. I'd probably
Mhm.
still love it, but I don't know how much. Jaws, we touched on this earlier. You've got the mayor cracking down on Brody. Brody in the beginning wants to even go back to New York. I don't like this shit. I don't like the water, but he's got to do it. When Alex Kipper's mom comes and smacks him, that to me is like, oh, I fucked up, man. Like he's now got to make it right. Then you've got the not money hungry, but Quint, who's a mess, but he wants the money. And then I'm sorry, Hooper, who comes in, he's there for science. Hooper's one of my favorite all-time movie characters. I adore him. I'm wearing my Hooper glasses today. Jaws, and then Ellen, the wife, the kids. I think Jaws has so many more layers to it. I think it has the most in-depth characters. I think it is because one of the best trios. I love Jaws because of sharks, but I love Jaws the movie because of the guys. They to me are more of the movie than the actual shark. The shark is like secondary to me than the guys. So definitely Jaws.
All right. So Allie goes with The Thing, and we're gonna go to Jack.
I mean, McCready is a total badass. I mean, he's that blood test scene where he's like, everybody's pointing fingers at him, and he's like, I'm going to show you what I know. And nothing happens. And you're like, he stands his ground. He's a badass. Like, I love Kurt Russell so much. He's just like man crush, total. But I think that the characters in Jaws, you identify a little bit more because like Quint, he's in it for the money, obviously, but he has his Indianapolis in
the Indianapolis. There's
sorry,
personal reasons. You're right. Yeah.
My French just got out there. So that whole backstory of him experiencing, like, are you going to get it? Are you not going to get it? Is the shark going to get me or not? So he's when you visit his shop or his hangar, he's got his man cave. There's Jaws. He's caught many sharks because it's like almost like a personal vendetta. And when this prize shark comes in, he's all in. He's like, but you're going to pay because I'm good. And I know I'm good. So he's total badass too. But then you've got like the evolution of the characters. And I mean, Hooper is just like he's there for the science, like you mentioned, but also he's like a tension breaker with his little mimics and he's like, oh, I can't touch smaller. And it's just like, it's just, you relate more to the characters in Jaws. So I think that whereas The Thing, they're researchers, you have a doctor, you have all the pilots and whatever, but you don't know more than the surface. It's kind of frozen. So Jaws for me, yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna agree with you with McCready being like one of the best characters and just top to bottom standalone. But this one for me is quite easy in going with Jaws because I personally feel that the chemistry between Scheider, Shaw, and Dreyfuss is probably the best in the history of film. Like I'll go on record saying that any day of the week, that those three and what they do in that movie, just completely, totally different personalities, but it wasn't just like that. It was written that way. Like they knocked it out of the park, the three actors. And I thought that was, I could, you could watch another boat cruise with them. Like you could put them on the Love Boat and you still could be interested in it. So I can't say enough about those three, but I'm also going to say a little bit more about some of the other cast, which is kind of weird. Like Bruce the Shark, what a performance. No, the other, like, even the Islanders that couldn't act, they're still like, you still quote them, you still like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you're still all over them, right? Like, you know, it's funny. Well, oh, what? Yeah, like it's
What?
you know, it's
And
just
the
it's
mayor,
oh yeah,
Ben
well, him,
Gardner.
yeah, Murray,
He's
what's his
another
name?
bad guy. Everyone thinks of the shark.
But
He's kind of a bad guy too.
he is, but he's likable. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the
When he
day,
talks
like
about being a dad, when he finally is like, I'm a dad too, man.
right, yeah. And then if, I mean, I'm not going to get to Jaws 2, but like, you know, but it's, I find him to be, you know, yes, he's doing the best interest, you know, of the town and the mayor and the whole, you know, obviously everybody who's in politics is the bad person in a film,
Yeah.
but he's likable. And you know, you kind of think that he knows the right thing to do versus like someone who's just like really hands down, forget it, we're opening the beaches. Yeah, so I definitely I can't, like I said, it's just weird. I mean, the family, Brody's family, I mean, the kids a little weak, but whatever, they're kids. But other than that, I think the Jaws's characters are just so they create the whole story. Like they're all contributors in one way or another. So Jaws. All right. So we move on to scare factor. Which movie scares you more, or concept or premise or whatnot? And for this one, we're going to start off with Brian.
All right, so Jaws really scared me as a young kid. I saw the movie when I was on a trip to Ecuador, and we were going to the beach the next day, and I put it on, and it was a terrible mistake. I did not want to be in that water at all. Um, so I think Jaws presents like a fear, like factor or scare factor that really is grounded in reality. I mean, I think most people in 75, I bet the summer of 76 was a pretty light on beach attendance. um, but to me, I think the Thing has a bigger scare factor because it's almost like, while Jaws, it's like it's out there, it's out in the fear is out there. With the Thing, it's like the fear, the monster, it's us. It's like within us, it's around us, it's our friends, it's our family. It can be anybody. And I really think that it's a fear of like infections, paranoia of like who's the Thing. It's terrifying visuals that, again, Rob Bottin's work is fantastic. Nearly hospitalized for how stressed he was. And I just think it does come down to, we feel like we could get corrupted by it. And that, I think, is a bigger fear because it's us. It's more human than, something that's out there. So I think the Thing.
All right. We're going to go to Tanya.
Okay. I have to go with Jaws on this one. Again, kind of taking back to what Brian said about it's grounded in reality. That we could be on a beach and something like that happen, or on a boat or out in the water. How likely is it that I'm going to be on a mission in Antarctica? Not likely. But when I'm watching it on the TV, maybe the Thing might be a little more jump scary to me. But when I stop and think about it, Jaws scares me more because that could actually happen. And there are shark attacks. And I'm also, like Alice said, I'm terrified of the water. I don't want to go to the beach at all. So I think that, and it's effective. And I have soundtrack wrote down here too for scare factor on my list, because I think it played into the scare factor of the movie.
Mhm.
The soundtrack really well. When you heard that sound, you knew something scary was about to happen. So I have the soundtrack is playing into the scare factor on Jaws on this one.
Nice.
As well. And they did a lot without doing a lot, because the shark only had so much screen time in the movie and didn't even appear really until what point in the movie. So I think they effectively scared you without even showing you anything in that movie. And the Thing is very scary, but I'm going to give it to Jaws.
Allie.
Well, I like what Tanya said about the score, man. The score, both scores are incredible. The score in Jaws is the most simple. Donut is the creepiest.
Well, in fairness, the thing is pretty simple too, but
it is, and it's also kind of similar too.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this question. Jaws is scarier to me simply for personal reasons. I'm still afraid an alien invasion could happen any day. That movie is so scary because of trust and the sacrifice. I don't know if it was an intentional sacrifice. Also, I don't want to, we can't do movie spoilers, can we?
For movies that are 40 years and more older, I
Okay,
think you can.
Okay. How it ends with McCready and Childs and the Thing is scary in and of itself because don't want it to get out. I'm always afraid of an alien invasion. But Jaws, even though you can stay out of the water, to me, people are people and they do it anyway. People are going to do the thing. And like I said, I grew up going to the beach. But Allie didn't go in the water. I don't go in the water because I saw Jaws at an early age. And even growing up and learned, Peter Benchley, who wrote Jaws, went on that crusade to say, sharks don't really do this. Sharks are not really, hell no, man, I'm not risking that. And it was the beginning with Chrissy at the beginning, watching her get tugged like that. It's just, I don't know. I think the alien is scarier, but Jaws is just, gun to my head, it's just a scarier movie to me. If I'm sitting in a dark room and watching both movies separately, I think Jaws would give me more heebie-jeebies, even though I've seen it 2,000 times. It still scares me.
All right. And for the record, Allie's the only guest that I've ever had on this show that keeps reiterating how much she hates being asked these questions.
Oh yeah, I hate it. So I love these movies, man. This brutal.
Thanks for coming on the show, though. That's nice of you.
Well, I love you, Jason.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, Jack.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I lost my earpiece.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't want to touch my ears.
Yeah. Oh, came
The
closer.
jinxie ears.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I've listened to all the answers, and although Jaws is grounded in reality, it could happen. I mean, when that poor guy in his little rowboat in the pond, hey, you guys okay? And it flips over, and you just see him, the shark just kind of coming underneath and grabbing him down. We're like, that's like a big fish, and it's just it's very scary. And even when he pops out of the water, and then Ben Gardner, like he's got missing. Where is it? He's an experienced fisherman, and his head just pops out of that hole. It's like, but I mean, it's very scary. But I think the thing, because it's an otherworldly kind of experience, it takes possession. You don't even know if you have it. Like he says one of us could be it, and by the end of spring or winter, everyone can be it. There's the suspicions, the whodunit, like you mentioned earlier, Jason. So it's like you have all these layers of scare factor and you don't know what it is. And what I liked also about, I come back to that blood test, because I think I've seen the thing so many times, and that blood test, even I know when it's going to happen, it's still a huge jump scare.
Sure.
And Carpenter, I think, wanted to incorporate it in the story because of the AIDS epidemic that was happening right now. The only way to know if you're infected is through a blood test. So he wanted to kind of like incorporate that fear, because everyone in the AIDS was like, AIDS, and everyone was freaking out, right? So I think that in a scary, Jaws is very scary, but I think that the Thing is a little bit scarier. It's more horror, whereas Jaws is more like a monster kind of flick. Even though the Thing is a monster flick, but it's a different approach. I think this Thing is just a little bit scarier than Jaws. But I mean, I love both films.
Well, that was a compelling argument right there. I myself, I've never heard that comparison with AIDS, and that was the time frame. So that was very
smart.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I read it not too long ago. Apparently that they tried to incorporate that. The only way to know if you're infected is through a blood test, and that's how you kind of had to do it with AIDS and
so I never really, that's very
That's
Cool.
pretty.
Well, that's what horror does, right? It takes
Takes-
current events and kind of like the same way when cable TV came out, Cronenberg and Videodrome, he just went all out, and you're like, oh my God, is cable TV gonna kill me?
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to I'll be kind of quick with this one, despite his wonderful argument. I'm going to say Jaws, and the only reason why is because I could watch both these movies, no problem. But at the end of the day, if I'm playing in snow, I'm okay. If I'm in the water, I'm thinking. And this is, I mean, I don't know if this happened to you all when you were younger, but even in a pool when I was a kid, I was worried that for some reason there was a shark in there, because you go underwater or you stay above water, whatever. And then when you go underwater, your ears kind of shut down and you can almost hear dun, and it's very loud in your head. So I think the psychological effects of Jaws are what ruined me as far as the scare. So I'm going to go with Jaws, but that was close. All right. So we're moving on to kills. And for this one, we're going to start with Allie.
The Thing. I'm sorry. I love, it's pretty brutal watching Quint getting cut in half and swallowed, but the special effects and what happens to everybody in The Thing is just, I don't even got to think about it, Jason. It's too beautiful. It's too horrifying. To me, The Thing has the best kills, even though my biggest fear is really the shark. I would rather fight neither of them. Never mind. But The Thing.
The Thing. All
Better
right.
kills.
Brian?
Yeah, so with Jaws, the Quint's death is fantastic. The little boy, Alex, is like, that was just like,
Horrible.
when I first saw that scene, I was like, that's brutal. That's like, I'm surprised they even got away with that. But with The Thing, I think it's just, again, Rob Bottin's work. The Venus, you have the defibrillator scene is one of the greatest special effects spectacles of all time, still holds up. So I think that was just like, it was so brutal. You had the head coming off the body turning into a spider. In the blood test scene, you get the death of the Venus flytrap kill, where he's just like munching on that guy's face while he's like holding him upside down. So I think just for the pure gruesome and brutalness of it, I gotta go with The Thing.
All right. Tanya?
This was an easy one for me too. The Thing has very, very good and memorable kills. I mean, still to this day, people talk about those practical effects. That is my answer, but just honorable mention, Jaws. I'm notorious for putting Jaws on as like a comfort movie or putting it on at night before I go to bed. And the first kill, the girl in the water in the beginning, that's what like starts the movie off. It's her screaming and terror just like scares me really bad. It's like, that's the first thing I hear when I put that movie on, because it just opens that way and it kind of sets the tone for how this movie's going to be. So that's my favorite kill in Jaws, but overall, The Thing.
Jack?
I think that, I mean, a shark eats, so it'll shred you, it'll cut you to pieces. You kind of, I mean, it's horrible, it's terrifying. I mean, poor Chrissy Watkins. I mean, she's a rag doll in the water, and she's trying to scream, swallowing water. The xylophones on the music. It's just like, it's horrible. You're drowning and being shredded to pieces at the same time. I couldn't only imagine. But because The Thing is obviously the special effects by Rob Bottin, he just took the money. He says, I'm going to make something out of this world, and he did. You don't know how it could be anything. And he literally made these weird creatures and the kills. I mean, I think The Thing is more, the range of what could happen is wider than Jaws, even though Jaws is extremely terrifying and the kills are kind of like, yeah, but I think The Thing is gorier and much, has more effects for that.
Cool. This was kind of tougher for me than I thought, because the kills in Jaws were so effective, and you guys all ran them down. I mean, Chrissy, the opening and the like, good luck swimming at dusk. after that. Then Alex Kittner just getting ripped apart on him. Like, kids don't die in movies, and all of a sudden this kid just got eaten by a shark, right? And then you go to Quint, we'll jump to Quint's. I love the way that because you feel it, right? You're kicking your feet. We've all had that, like whether it's in a dream or in reality, where you're just trying to kick away from something, and and having a shark at the end of it. And the thing I love about that scene is there's no music. I like that. It's rare that a movie during a big, thrilling, climactic kill scene would have no music, but there's no music in that Quint kill, and it's such a cool choice. So it just, I don't know, I absolutely love it. But then the thing, right? Like, I mean, I'm not even gonna go to all the kills, but when was it Jennings? I forgot the guy who they burned, for one of the first ones to turn, where he was on his knees, and like, when he kind of turned, and whether it was an effect or his voice.
Yeah, I think right.
Right. Like, that was just like, that was scary. Like, I mean, that was freaky. So like, it didn't have to be bloody for it to be effective, because you just didn't know what was going on. The dogs, I mean, like, that was insanity. So I'm gonna have to give it to The Thing, but different, right? So like, Jaws was kills, but in a different way, just a little bit more cinematic and effective, in kind of creating just a little bit of I don't know, just psychological impact on you. Again, things that could happen versus likely things that won't happen. But it was close, but The Thing. All right, so we're going to move on to an interesting category, the antagonist. So obviously for Jaws, we've got a shark, and for The Thing, I guess we would probably attribute it to an unknown alien. And for this one, we're going to start off with Jack.
I mean, Jaws is it's like a large shark. And we all know what sharks are. They, like Cooper says, they swim, they eat, they make baby sharks, and that's it. So it's a very, and they just pop out of nowhere. I mean, who doesn't work Shark Week, and they just kind of jump, and they have that powerful jaws and the teeth and everything, and it's very scary because you don't see them. They have perfect camouflage over them. You don't see them under them because of the light. Like, it's a killing machine. But the thing is that it's a virus, it's an alien virus. This takes over and you don't even know you have it. So that's just like, that's like a perfect antagonist, That's my opinion. I think the theme has it to that level as a character trait, if you wish, even though a virus can't be really a character. I think that's scary because, like, do you have it? I don't have it. And then paranoia kicks in and stuff. Whereas the shark is a physical animal. It's a fish, right? So it's like, but I think The Thing is a as an antagonist, as a character, I think The Thing it wins the hand on this one.
Allie.
I feel like it's easy for me personally to choose shark. The thing with the shark and Jaws is, I think Jack might have said it, it is supposed to be, they thought it was that bull shark. It's just shark, which was scary, but it was scarier because it was a bigger shark than what they had imagined. Most people thought the problem was already done. Why are they going fishing? But when The Thing, I do have to give it, kind of sad that I even have to say that, but The Thing is also, when is it going to happen? When is it going to show itself, and in what form? Because we all love the special. We talked about that over and over, how and when is it going to come? And it's sharks are scarier to me, but I'm choosing The Thing for my answer. That's why these questions are so hard.
Okay, I would have never have guessed that would have been your answer based on your
description. I'm in shock. I'm probably going to be upset about it later, but gun to my head, I think I have to give it to The Thing.
It's funny because I think you literally started off saying the shark was your winner, and by the end you're
Personally, I'm more afraid of a shark, but don't go in the water. You know, they're stuck and they don't have it. It's a matter of when for these guys in the thing. So I think I'm going to have to, for the protagonist, I'm going to have to give it to the thing, because these guys do have a choice in Jaws to not go for it and not go in the water. You're just going to be on welfare for the rest of the winter and the winters to come after. However, you know, again, they're already there. The boys are already there in Antarctica, and they're stuck, and it's a matter of when for them. So that's why I'm thinking the thing.
all right. Tanya, you gonna give the shark some love, or are you gonna stay on the thing?
For this one, I'm going to go with the thing. Jaws, yes, the Bruce is scary. He's scary without even like basing a movie around it. Sharks are scary in general. But with the thing, I think that looking at it not just from like, oh, I'm going to watch a movie, but also I'm going to make a movie, thinking how creative can I get with this antagonist? I can do with the shark, I can come up and chomp on people. With the thing, there's all kinds of avenues with kills and who's it going to affect. In fact, I just like the idea of completely endless possibilities almost for that antagonist as opposed to a shark. So for this one, I'm going with the thing.
All right. Well, let's see if Mr. Universal gives that shark any love. Brian.
Alrighty. Well, so the shark is just a big shark, which is immediately scary. But the thing I think has more implications to like thematic things and stuff we think about in our daily lives, even though it is like just an alien thing, which doesn't seem as plausible. Again, it's that infection of the body. It's who can I trust? And I think that you guys mentioned the AIDS crisis, and it's like coming off of COVID. It was like also like a resurgence in this movie's themes, especially within the antagonist, because I think we were having very similar conversations to a lot of those guys when they were cooped up in there. And so yeah, the thing is just a perfect killing organism that just will adapt, whether you're a dog, a human. It could turn into Bruce the shark. So
Yeah,
it will become anything.
that would be horrible. Oh my God.
Yeah, so I have to go with the thing.
But it's true that you mentioned COVID, because like I said, COVID is a virus and it affected a lot of people, but differently. I know some people, they lost their sense of taste. And I know people that had huge fever, but they still had their taste buds. So depending on your DNA and the way you're personally structured, it affected people differently. So that's what makes it even scarier and different.
Yeah.
I love Brian, what you just said there, how we were having a lot of the same conversations during COVID. That was pretty cool, because it was very true. Are you done? Sorry.
Yeah.
You're done. All right. I'm gonna like it's a great white shark. It's like the coolest killing machine that there is. So you know, it took something from, I guess, not on this planet to beat it. If I'm really kind of getting somewhat poetic here. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the thing, and I'm gonna just keep it there because I think you all said it all. All right, so we got a bonus category. So if you were studying the notes and you're like, okay, I got this, I got all my notes. Brian, you be quiet. You know what this one is. This is I wasn't gonna put this one in, but I figured, you know what, we're doing pretty good. So let's have at it. Okay. You don't have to go long-winded on this one, but we're gonna go with which movie poster you like best. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to think about it, and that's yes, a question from Allie.
No, I just have my answer.
Oh, you're ready to go? Okay,
Yeah.
So let's have at it. Allie, you're up.
Jaws. She's right there. I don't. To me, it's Chrissy, but I don't know who the girl is. But to me, it's represented as Chrissy, the girl, and that big beast. It's on its way. and we know it, but she doesn't know it. I give it to Jaws. That's a good question. Because the
Oh,
thing.
finally, I got a compliment from you. All right, nice.
That's a good question because I love the things too. That's a beautiful, the original, I'm assuming you
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
the original
I think
poster is
we all-
gorgeous. I want it desperately for my house, but the Jaws poster is it's terrifying.
All right, Brian.
I was afraid you were gonna ask this. So with Jaws, I think it's obviously more iconic, but with The Thing, I do love those minimalist posters that don't really give you too much of the plot, or you don't know what you're really going into. So I love that dude in the whole snow gear and the lights just coming out of his face. And it's like, again, much like when we talked about Friday the 13th, it sets up a mystery while being minimalistic. And so it is The Thing that is my favorite poster out of the two, especially that tagline where it was like, there's two I've seen. It's like the ultimate alien terror, and then also man is the warmest place to hide. I've seen two of those, and that's one of the best taglines. But really quick, for Jaws and The Thing, just a side note, my answer is The Thing, but just when talking about the posters, I do find it interesting that Jaws is the more minimalistic special effects movie, but it has the bigger, louder poster, and The Thing is that crazy special effects movie, and it has such a minimalistic poster. But yeah, The Thing.
All right, Jack.
I love both posters. I mean, this is like, it's two sides of the same coin. Jaws is, I mean, you have this little person swimming at a surface, and you've got this very imposing monster with these teeth just coming at you. So you already know what the antagonist, or what the problem is. The Thing is such a beautiful poster. It looks like a human being, but you don't see the face. And you mentioned the human is the man is the warmest place to hide, and that is a fantastic tagline. I think that visually, The Thing creates more of a it's more intriguing. What is this thing? Because when you see light, usually you're like, oh, light is good, but in this case, light is bad. And I don't know. I think The Thing's posters. I think it's The Thing, but by a nose, really. A shark's nose.
Shark's nose.
It's more
Shark's
mysterious.
honking nose. All right, Tanya.
I am going, before I give my answer, I think this is a fabulous question, and I think that you should always ask this question because
Yes.
VHS and poster art is like the best. Like obviously, that's why I collect VHS over DVDs and everything else, is because of the art. So I think this is a really cool question. I'm going to go with Jaws. I love them both, but I was fortunate enough to see Jaws in IMAX last Labor Day weekend, and the poster was huge in our theater, and it was like, I've been trying to refrain from using the word iconic this whole time, but it's so iconic, and it was still like, it just screamed like summer blockbuster to this day, seeing that poster. So I have to go with Jaws.
Right. I too will go with Jaws, and for me, it's not even close. I know The Thing. You guys made some good points about The Thing, but look, I grew up like I was a little kid in every theme park back when I was a kid, without saying my age, and every kid had a Jaws shirt on. It was like, where you keep hearing about the summer blockbuster, like, I was kind of living it. Like it was just, everybody had one. Everybody had a Jaws shirt. Every kid had a Jaws shirt, in the late 70s and early 80s. It was just, you had to. That was it. It was Star Wars sheets. And sorry?
You still see them today.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
People are still
For
wearing
sure.
Jaws
Really
t-shirts
huge
everywhere.
comeback.
But yeah, but like that, like, I mean, that giant shark just ready to, like, and with the girl, the victim, everybody, that's everybody, right? Everybody's pictured themselves in a water swimming, thinking, is there a shark torpedoing towards me, and it nails it. And credit to maybe a potential other category, but credit to the title Jaws. Like, we are so desensitized to that title, but what
Oh,
a brilliant
yeah.
what a brilliant title for a
talked-
film. Like, when you think about a shark film, and if you were to write one now, I mean, I don't know, would Jaws come to your mind? Like, I mean, but it's and when you break it down, Jaws, like, well, it's so abstract, but now it's so synonymous with the film. So anyways, all that put together, just one word, one syllable, and I just think Jaws' poster is tight, so I'm gonna give it to Jaws. All right, last category, everybody. So stretch it out. We're almost there. The ending of the film. And for this one, we're going to start with Tanya.
I was hoping you'd come to me first for this one.
Oh, good.
felt it.
This one was easy for me. I love the ending of Jaws. Obviously, everybody wants to see the shark get blown up in the end, even if that wasn't how the book ended, or how maybe Peter Benchley didn't want it to end. It was a good ending. It was a solid ending. It was like you felt comfort at the end of that movie. But The Thing is my answer, because it ended, but you don't really know where it's going from there. There's all those theories of, was Childs infected in the end, kind of like you can't see his breath, the coat he was wearing was a different color. McCready offers him a drink and he takes it, but they're not supposed to drink after one another. So, like, he's doing all these things that everyone's like, okay, he's infected, and it kind of leaves you with that. So you don't really know, or where is it going? Does it get out into the rest of the population after the end of the movie? It's not as clear cut as the ending of Jaws, and that's why I like it. And The Thing is my answer.
Nice. All right, we're going to go to Jack.
I mean, Jaws is a classic story. It comes full circle. They defeat the monster. You could see that Brody, after, he's ecstatic, but then, him and Hooper, they're just paddling back he seems more comfortable in the water. So has he overcome his fear? We don't know, but it's, you feel that, the stress is not there anymore. The Thing is, because there's only one shark. Obviously they made sequels and you're like, well, what is, like, like even like Jaws the Revenge, or like, what is this shark back? It makes no sense. There's only one shark and that's it. Whereas The Thing is an open ending. I like open endings because it leaves the audience to think. You talk about it more after the film. You're like, well, is this, is this that? I read something, I don't know if I should mention it. It's kind of like, it's not a spoiler, but apparently, should I say it? I don't know.
Yes.
Carpenter said that there's a hint that there's a glint in one of the eyes, like not contact lens, but there's a way that the eyes kind of shine, and you kind of know in the end who's infected and who's not. I don't know if it's true because I rewatched it recently just to, and it's hard to pinpoint, but I mean, is Childs infected? Is McCready? I even played the video game that came out afterwards, which was kind of like a direct sequel to The Thing. And it was a cool game. I played it on my PC. I remember that. But it's like, I think the open ending leaves more to discussion, whereas Jaws is sigh of relief. We can move on.
All right. Speaking of moving on, let's move on to Brian.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. The Thing, it's full of dread. The ending, again, to kind of say what everyone else is saying, the ending of Jaws is fantastic with, Smiley son of a bitch, and he blows up the shark, is one of the best ending moments. But yeah, The Thing just keeps the conversation going after you're left the theater, and I think those are the best movie endings, is speculation and conversation. So it's The Thing.
Allie.
Uh, two guys win in Jaws and two guys lose in The Thing. So even though when you're
Nice.
watching, for me, when I'm watching Jaws and they still have to paddle to shore, I'm like, if you know anything about sharks, there's chum in the water. There's more sharks that exist. Go. But
Giant
it's not
squid.
meant for that to be, huh?
Giant squid.
Yeah, that too. I'm thinking you're not out of the water yet, but you know that they make it. They win. And I don't trust Childs for a minute, by the way. But that's the thing, is like they lose. I say it's Childs, man. Don't trust Childs.
All right. Okay, so we're not going to trust Childs, but what's your winner in the category?
My answer is going to be The Thing, because it's just impending doom. What's to happen? It's a mystery.
All right. So y'all said The Thing.
Yeah.
I say Jaws by a landslide, and this is where the figures we get into like a contentious argument right at the end here. I love The Thing's ending because of the ambiguous nature of it. I love the theories that are going around years later of the smoke and the gleams and all that. I love it. It's awesome. And I love when movies don't end happy all the time. I get it. Like, you know, like we're not that emotionally fragile where we always have to have a happy ending. But does it get bigger than like Smile, You Son of a Bitch and an exploding shark? I mean, that, I know it's not always viewed as a good thing, but that is so Hollywood. That is so like that is the ultimate big ending. At the end of this giant battle, you know, drowning a shark would have been like terrible, or like, you know, stabbing it and it swims away forever. Like this was an explosion, and I'm not all about explosions, but like that needed to happen. And even though it's been proven that shooting a tank and that wouldn't happen in real life, what a cool idea. What a cool idea.
And it wasn't the shark experts either that did it. It was the guy afraid of the water that did it.
Exactly, right?
Neither of the shark experts could do it.
Exactly.
That's the other fun.
Thinking on your feet, just like Spielberg had to do. So, you know, to me, that is such a big ending. I'm floored that the four of you all went with The Thing. All great arguments, but I'm actually surprised that I'm on an island on this one, pun intended. All right. So the votes are in. Everybody said their piece. There's only one thing left to do, and that's add them up and crown a winner. And for that, we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we have a winner. And I like to do this when it's really, really close. Just one word. I'm going to throw it around. Who do you think won? Allie.
Jaws. Just because that's what I want.
Jack.
Jaws.
Tanya.
Jaws.
Ryan.
I'm gonna go with Jaws.
All right. Winning a close battle, 24 votes to 21 votes. The winner of Horror Face Off is 1982's The Thing.
Whoa.
Whoa.
And the panel is surprised.
Okay.
Well, you did it all.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
We
In
were all
all fairness,
here.
though, The Thing is
It's all
sci-fi
fair.
horror, whereas Jaws, I see it more as a thriller.
Yeah. Sure.
But
Okay.
It still
I
has
see Jaws as a horror,
like
man.
horrific moments. It's still it's a blend of all these things that makes it more accessible, whereas The Thing is more like it's sci-fi horror.
For sure.
But
you
I mean,
all
they're
seem
both
surprised.
amazing.
Yeah.
They're both amazing.
Yeah.
They are. And we were talking off camera, and I think a lot of people, this is their first and second favorite films, or second and third favorite films. So it's kind of, it was close. And this is an example where I think a lot of people on this panel have Jaws probably ranked higher than The Thing on their all time. But when you break it down categorically, things change. And this is a good example by the shocked faces of the panel. But this makes The Thing a 2-time winner on this show, the first ever. Like I said, it beat Halloween, and now it took down Jaws, which is that's you got bragging rights if you're The Thing for a movie that made what, like $3 million or something like that.
And yeah, that was
So-
one that failed on the box office.
Big time. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I hope to have you all back on a future show. But for now, Brian, Tanya, Jack, Allie, thank you so much for being on the show from the Horse Slash. See you later.